birthplace of Jordan, that kind of a little more broad of what you talked about, and I met people like that.
Right.
But I'm going to skip all these. The question I'm just going to ask one thing outside the Arabic. Why don't we see this? Why don't the American people of the world see these positive stories on the media versus the rockets and the killing and the violence?
Right.
For what purpose is that, and what your organization play a role in that?
Yeah, it's a great question. I mean, it's always true that the stories we tell through journalism, media, and other kinds of sources tend to be the ones that are more outrageous. So people can do great things all day long. The minute somebody blows something up, then we have a story. It's not a story until something really dramatic or generally violent happens. And that's sort of part of the human condition. I mean, we want that. There's a demand for it, or it wouldn't be what it is. But I think we also have an opportunity now to tell different kinds of stories, because I also think there's a real thirst for better stories to be told, and the world needs better stories, and especially the Middle East needs better stories, because there's so many good stories in the Middle East that don't make their way out. And a big part of what we're trying to do is to help Americans learn to tell better stories about what's happened there, what's going on there. They tell hard stories, but they also tell amazing stories of amazing people doing good things. So people come back from our trips and they have a different set of stories to tell. Because as David said, when you think about going over there, you think it's so dangerous, I can't go. When you go and you realize it's actually not that dangerous. Like you can feel very safe the whole time you're there. And you come back with a whole different perspective, a whole different set of stories that you can tell. We've also engaged a lot of people who tell stories for a living. Novelists, musicians, artists, and others we've taken on trips, so that's one of our target communities. And they come back and they write things differently. They make films, they make other things that help to tell the story in a different kind of way. So we have to look for those, we have to kind of demand them more. But I think as journalism is changing in some really significant and sort of frightening ways right now. But the world of social media and the interconnectedness of the world through the internet gives us an opportunity to find stories in unusual places, and there are better stories out there. But we need to also take responsibility for telling those stories more. Yes, sir.
So you mentioned you co-founded this,
Yes.
and then what was your background such that you would go ahead and actually do this?
It's a crazy story. I mean, I grew up in Arkansas, in the sort of north central Arkansas, middle of nowhere. The world I grew up in, the sun kind of rose somewhere around Memphis, and it said about the Oklahoma border, and that was the world most people lived in. And somehow I broke out of that, and I ended up moving to Washington to work on Capitol Hill. Spent 10 years doing that. Worked in the Bush administration at the State Department for 6 years, which is where I really got involved in this as a serious foreign policy challenge in the United States. And my view of our foreign policy, my sort of philosophy of foreign policy, is that America's interests are always best served in the world when we live out American values. That when we live out our values, we are serving our own interests and our own security. And when we are living in ways that are inconsistent with our values in the world, then that's going to reverberate against us. And so this issue was again, as I said in the presentation, it's a vexing foreign policy challenge in the United States, but it functions like a domestic political issue. And my experiences in the Middle East, which are broader than just being in Israel-Palestine, but was that this is a particular part of the world that Americans care a lot about and often think they know a lot about because they've had maybe an experience there, but there's a lot they still haven't. They don't know, and often their experiences are disconnected from the lives of real people there. And so I really wanted to figure out how to bring more Americans into relationship with Palestinians and Israelis, with understanding the story better. Didn't know what that looked like because I was a policy guy, not a nonprofit guy. And my co-founder is a guy named Greg Khalil, and Greg and I had met during the time I was in government. He was an international lawyer living there, working for a group with a team of international lawyers that were brought in by the British to support the Palestinian negotiators. And he had this idea for creating his experience and told him entirely that this could not be a zero-sum game. The only way out of this conflict is for both sides to sort of figure out a way to live together. And the paradigm for that was the two-state solution, the Oslo peace process, from the early 90s that we've sort of still been in some ways giving lip service to for all these years. But he came back to this idea that if more Americans knew about it at the sort of grassroots level, understood the complexity of it, had some connection to both people, both stories, they would find ways to support both people and realize that it's not a zero-sum thing. And he had the idea for a nonprofit. He asked me to join him. The Bush administration is coming to a close. It's November of 2008. President Obama was elected the week before. He met with me and just mentioned this idea to me, and he wasn't inviting me in. He just told me his idea, and I said, let's do this together. And then I had to go home and explain to my wife what I just agreed to, because we had 4 kids, and they wanted to go to school to college someday, and here I was. I mean, think about Lehman Brothers had collapsed like 2 months before that. So we're in the worst economy in a generation, and I had to come and tell my wife that I want to start a nonprofit on Israeli Palestinian conflict, focus on pro-Israeli, pro-Palestinian, pro-peace kind of approaches. And we had a good conversation, and she somehow agreed. And that was 10 years ago. But it's a strange path to get here. But it definitely has been so central to my understanding of how we should engage the world in trying to shape this. So.
Todd, thank you so much. Presentation. And in these days when the headlines are all about divisiveness and calling each other names, it is incredibly encouraging to see that an organization like yours seeks out the hope, seeks out what peacemakers give us. So, as a token of our appreciation, we partner with a local organization that teaches glass blowing skills to children of limited means, and it's a candle holder which symbolizes the name of the organization tonight, and the candle holder in this case symbolizes the light and hope that your organization brings. So hopefully it will be a reminder of your visit here. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. That'd be great.
Okay, today we also have one of our engineering scholarship students, and Eric Kempel is going to introduce him for a very short speech of what he's up to.